talking to you, darling.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you for receiving me.
Always. Anything to do with hair and beauty, I shall receive you with open arms. I'm
Thank
always
you.
ready.
We're sailing in the same boat.
We are sailing in the same boat. All right. Now, Irene, before we start our conversation, this is a fact that shocked me. A Kenyan woman spends about 50,000 shillings annually on average, on hair, according to the report from Afro Urembo Beauty Trends report. This is 2018.
Yes.
50,000 shillings, at least 50,000 shillings. Of course,
Yes.
this could go more.
Yeah.
Wow. Expound on that.
All right. Hair and beauty is something that is very important to African women. And basically, actually, to all black people, I would say, we kind of pay so much attention to it. The funniest thing to it is because you could make your hair, but your husband doesn't even have the right to touch your hair. And he's paid for it. So that's how actually we're crazy about beauty.
Yeah.
And you could be well dressed, and if your hair is not well done, you don't feel very confident.
Yes, true.
And so when I looked at it, my numbers come from the compilation of how much a human hair weave would cost. Today, when you go to the market, if you want to buy Brazilian hair, you're going to buy a pack, at least $50, I would say, 50 euros. If you go to Paris, you're going to get it for 45 euros, and they have promotions and things like that. So a woman basically would need 3 packets to fill your hair.
To fill your hair, yes,
You
true.
will need also the frontal. That would go for maybe 5,000. That's 20,000 in total because you have 4. Then you go to the person who fixes it. They're going to spend
That's another cost.
5,000. They need to wash your hair, treat it. So at once, you find like a woman can spend 25,000. How often do they change? Minimum 2 times a year.
That's
and I'll
very
expand
true.
on that afterwards.
That is very true. Now, according to the same report, Kenyan women are estimated to use about 20% of their income on hair, up from 50% in 2016. So in 2016, we used to use about 15% of our income to just on hair. We've not even talked about beauty, hair alone.
Yeah.
And now we're in 2018, we're using 20%. So this is set to, we're going to see, it's going to grow.
Yeah, the trend is set to grow in a way because people are changing the way they consume beauty services. People are going back to having natural products, having natural hair, which needs a lot of treatment.
It's even more expensive.
It's more expensive. And all the people who have realized there's a lot of money in it, they have gone that way.
All right. So this is an attributable, it's attributable to increase. And now, which brings us down to the Kenya's beauty industries. What is the future? Before we come down to Afro Urembo, something, it's an app that you came up with. After you've done your research, which is done very well, clearly. This is something that you've come up with. And now you are very subtle. You never used to live here.
No.
First of all, what was the idea behind it?
Oh, that's a very funny question, but anyway, I'm going to try to answer it. I lived abroad for more than 15 years, so I'm Kenyan French. And so last year, that is 2016, I went to live in Madrid. I quit my job in 2015 in Paris and went to live in Madrid to do an MBA in IE Business School. And when I was there, and actually, let me just proclaim it, one of the most boring classes, which was actually innovation, we had to do a task, which was actually to innovate something that doesn't exist out there. So me and my friend, a Japanese guy, because we had a group of different students, we were just laughing, having a gin tonic somewhere in Madrid, and actually we came up with this thing about hair.
Your life is so good. Irene, you laugh when you're going, you're seated with your classmates and you have gin and tonic. Okay, carry on.
Oh, it was just this funny thing that, you know, you don't want to do the assignment, but you have to do it. So we kind of started with the idea of having, why don't we come up with an app that actually all the MBA students who go out there and work maybe for big multinational companies and traveling all over the world can have an app whereby they can take themselves a picture, send to a bidding app whereby the professionals can bid for them. For example, I would take a picture of myself and tell the professionals out there, I want to turn into Rihanna. So they would actually bid and tell me the locations. And the one that I prefer, I would take it. So we took it to class and we won.
Sorry, Mama.
So another time we went to we wanted to do the startup lab. And so we came up with the idea, let's do this to the startup lab. And we went in there and I was joined by different students. And we decided, let's do this actually for the same students. But when we went to pitch to investors, they always crashed us. And they told us the app exists out there. We have so many competitors out there. How are you going to put the edge? And one time we were seated around in an evening in Madrid in all the classes trying to see how we can improve. And one of the mentors whom I had actually brought to the group, was not even assigned to a group, asked me, you there, what do you need? What is your problem? And I was the only African person in the group, and I was the head of that group. And I told him, as an African person, I can travel everywhere I want to go, but I can't find an app whereby I can book for beauty services. And he looked at me and told me, Erin, you need to do that. And funny enough, I even had an internship that was actually offered in Zurich, and I had to drop everything and came back to Kenya in August 2016, went round, sat in salons, asked questions, flew back to Madrid and decided to move back to Kenya in 2017.
All right. So when did the app start working?
The Android version came out on 30th of November. The iOS came out mid-January this year. So we had 1 month to try it, that is in December, and that was actually a little bit chaotic because the political situation was still unstable. People on the festive season, people didn't want to spend. There was this scary mood in the atmosphere.
People were broke, Irene.
Very much
People were really broke, yeah.
Yeah, I went to salons and professionals were sitting down there doing nothing. And then in January, it's a dry month normally, actually almost everywhere. So this is when now we're trying to pick up, and we have a good number of downloads and good feedback out there, but we're not set to the standard I want to set this up to be. I want every African woman, today you would go to Brazil, I want you to be able to find your beauty services. If you want to make your hair, imagine you have a wedding in Brazil today. Do you know where you would go to make your hair?
Of course not.
No. So if you had an app today which is actually niche to your own population, you'd feel much more better and more free to use it. So that is my dream today.
All right. And so that's your goal when it comes to Afro Urembo as an application. But where do you stand now?
Where we stand now today in Kenya, we're starting with Nairobi, because we chose Nairobi first of all because I'm Kenyan, and also because I believe Nairobi is the hub for innovation. And we're well known out there. If you read The Economist, you're going to see how they talk about the M-Pesa innovation, how it has triumphed. And I think we're in the right ground. And Kenyan people, they love apps. Just a very simple example. If you stand out in traffic, see those people seated in matriz or even driving their own cars, they kind of always on their phones.
Yeah, everyone is always on
And so
their
you
phone,
don't know, they spend a lot of time on their social media pages, and they kind of tend to be very tech savvy. So this is a right ground to test that Afro Urembo will stand. And we have professionals who actually create their own profiles, and we advise them to tell their clients to go and book them through the app, because first of all, the app will give them the schedule, we give you the price, the location, and easily you can leave a note to the professional and tell them, for example, I'll be coming with a kid, so please bear in mind, and such things. So something that doesn't exist. And so we think today, like in the next few months, we're going to reach to almost 10,000 downloads. That's my hope.
All right. And well, I see it really working, especially for the professional, for someone who, because how we, and I'm sure all ladies agree with me, how you end up going to your hairdresser, your salonist, or the person who does your nails is through the word of mouth.
Yes.
And you have to have spent so many years in this industry for you to become a favorite almost.
Yes.
So for that person who's new, you're good at what you do, but no one knows of you out there. So I think Afro Urembo really works for you. Now, explain to us how Afro Urembo works. How do you get the app?
For those who are using Android, you just click Afro Urembo on Play Store. And then if you're using iOS, you do the same thing in App Store. So it's available in both versions.
Which the process is, not everyone is tech savvy.
Okay. So the process is you download the app to your phone, then you can actually sign in as a new user. As a returning client or returning professional, you just have to sign in with your credentials or sign up later just because you want to explore. And once you go through that process, then you, as a client, I'm going to say the explore page. The explore page gives me different categories of services. It could be natural hair, makeup, kids hairdos, I mean special occasions. Caucasian, I've added Caucasian actually. And what it does is if you want something on natural hair, or maybe let's say weave, you just go to weaves and extensions, and you can see the pictures of the professionals who do that. You're able to read their reviews and rankings and also see the prices.
All right. Well, you've had it. That's how Afro urembo works. Now, for someone who's been in this industry and according to the massive research that you've done, what do you think, what do you see in the future when it comes to hair and beauty as a country?
I think the trend is unending. We always want to look fit. When I left Kenya back in 2003, we didn't have money to go and spend on makeup. I never had even makeup artists. Look today in Nairobi, the trend is growing. People would even ask for a makeup artist to come to their home to make them up because they're going for an important meeting. So with the increase in revenue, in disposable income actually, people have better jobs, they have a higher disposable income, so they can spend it on leisure and such things. So I think in the industry, we're just tapping on a gold mine. So if we do things right, we will set the trend. Because nowadays, nobody wants to be stopped in the street to be asked, where did you make your wig? Just the same way like you wouldn't stop somebody and ask them, where can I get a taxi? So the same trend is going because as the young generation, the millennials actually, we don't want to be stopped in the streets. We want to work on our own comfort, on our phones, on our laptops, and find everything that we need. So the trend is going to be massive.
But as the trend continues to be massive, would you say it's a lucrative sector that you'd ask people to join, especially the millennia?
Yeah, we're asking them to join, obviously, because they're the ones actually who kind of tend to be more tech savvy. So most of our clients, actually, the ones who are using our app currently, they're those people actually who are tech savvy. Yeah.
And then there's this trend, which is very interesting. And since you're one who's more experienced in this industry and being a woman as well, you can explain this to me. Why is it that of late women prefer to have their hair being done by men as opposed to women themselves?
Actually, I discovered this like a few years ago. I was traveling to Lagos and the trend is the same. You go to Abidjan, it's the same thing. You go to Dakar, it's the same thing. And when I came to Nairobi, it didn't shock me to see that. Something that didn't exist 10 years ago. And me as a woman, I don't know why, somehow we have a feeling that men will do our hair better. I'm sure maybe 60% of Kenyan women would say the same. It depends which service, by the way. Braids, we're very specific. We want women. So it depends on the kind of service. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Irene Keru. That was Irene Keru, who's the founder of Afro urembo. Any last words from you?
Guys, all of you, you're welcome to try our app, share your reviews, and let us know how you feel. Book your professionals with the app, and let them actually get used to it.
Let them get used to it.
Yes.
All right.